Hey, what's up? Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 705. I was starting to think that it wouldn't go live. I was getting the spinning wheel, spinning wheel, spinning wheel. Finally, after a refresh, here we are. Happy Wednesday, trash, and this is the most important week and recycling day because our recycling bin overflowing. Yes, I did take the bins out. They are on the curb. I nearly forgot after 9 o'clock last night had to wheel them out to the curb, so we won't be interrupted by the trash, hearing the trash trucks in the neighborhood and me trying to chase them down and get my garbage to the curb. Good morning, Victor. What is up? Something Sports Cards in the house. Red Light 34. What's happening? Happy Wednesday. A couple things I didn't touch on. We kind of went long yesterday. Dan had a question. I don't know if Dan Korean Cardboard is in the house yet, but I want to answer his questions because what reminded me is we went to the new house again yesterday. So give you an update on that. There was one other thing that I didn't touch on. Oh, I wanted to do a movie review of Halloween Ends. I'm going to write this stuff down so I don't forget again. I've got a few random topics written down. So I wanted to give my assessment of Halloween Ends. If you're on Twitter, I did tweet out my thoughts on Twitter last night. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was okay. So I'll go into details. We've got Brian Wolf. What's up? David, good morning. Ed, what's happening? George, Justin, good morning. What is happening? Happy Wednesday. We had the NBA open last night. How about that? That just snuck up on me. I had started seeing increasing sales in basketball over the last few days. A few dealers at the Midwest Premiere this past weekend did tell me that their basketball sales were up. And then somebody had mentioned, well, the season starts this week. And I'm like, oh, that's got to be regular season, right? It's October. When was preseason? Was there a preseason NBA? Usually I hear about it. Usually there's some chatter. So it concerns me. So I had to Google, like, when does the NBA regular season start? Oh, it's tonight, dumbass. Like, wow, that snuck up on me. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, I mean, I'm seeing basketball sales kind of rebound, pun intended. I'm seeing some stagnant cards that are in my inventory on eBay move. But on the other hand, I didn't even know the NBA regular season started last night at a doubleheader. We had the 76ers Celtics and the Lakers Warriors to open the NBA season, which the big $1,000 bulk buy I bought, which was loaded with basketball hits, which, by the way, I've started listing some of the bigger, autos and relics, and I've got a stack here. Let's just take a look at this is already sold. LaMarcus Aldridge numbered out of 10. We've got a John Henson auto numbered out of 10. Oh yeah, these are the nice cards. We've got a Giannis red cracked ice prism. That's in my eBay store. We've got a Marcus Chris auto numbered out of 25. We've got going back to the 80s, Rolando Blackman auto, Dallas Mavericks. One of my favorites from the 90s, Sean Bradley auto. This is numbered out of 49, and I'll show you one more. Drew Holiday, and this one actually sold for like $22. Drew Holiday, nice, let's see, 1, 2, 3 tricolor patch. So some of the examples of the basketball cards that are listed in my store, a couple of those, like I said, did sell. I think I'm up to around $125 in sales from those cards, and I've listed maybe 50 out of the 12,000 that I picked up. And I'm sitting on a couple offers as well. So that's going to be, I'm very surprised because I don't know the basketball market. So I play a little ignorant on when I looked through it, but I had no idea what some of the comps were on these. Hell, I didn't even know what the comps was. There's an Acuna short print chrome that sells for $100 to $120 that I just thought it was standard rookie chrome. Acuna strikes again. I think it's a $5 card and it's a $100 card. So some of those, I did list some Heritage. Looks like the seller that I bought these from looks like he broke, if not a case, several boxes of 2021 and 2022 Heritage. So there are some like action variations, some inserts, rookies. So I listed some of those last night from I think both sets, and I'm listing today. Later this morning, I'm going to be listing some Allen and Ginter Chrome from last year or 2 years ago. Also, I'm going to be getting pricked today. Double whammy of vaccinations today. I'm going back for another booster shot so the government can track me. That's a joke. And also my flu shot. So as soon as I wrap up here, I get to go to Walgreens and get pricked over here and probably pricked over here and whatever tracking devices they have in those vaccinations. Jenny says, I even told you for sports going on in this month. Absolutely. So yeah, my basketball sales, I sold a few Patrick Ewings here recently. Some basketball that's just been sitting in my eBay store for, a year, starting to move. It's not like I'm bursting at the seams selling basketball cards, but some of that stuff is moving. So let's just get basketball talk over with. Lakers Warriors last night. Warriors won. LeBron James 31 points, 14. He almost had a triple double. 2 assists away. Steph Curry had 33. James Harden 35 points, 7 assists, 8 rebounds for the Sixers. They lost to the Celtics. Jason Tatum had 35 for Boston. So that was the NBA regular season opener, a doubleheader last night. Really snuck up on me. Paige and Deanie Bean, what is happening? Dollar Box is here. What's up? Mark Hoyle, good morning. Herman is with us. Dan is prepping my first card grading order to be sent out later this week. Cheers to that. I think I'm going to sub 10 vintage Cubs into SGC this Saturday at the Madison Card Show. 5-star will be there accepting submissions for PSA and SGC. I'm going to do a 10 card sub. It's down to his pricing is $19 for SGC. One of the cards that I'm going to sub, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sub the Ernie Banks. It's in pretty rough shape. It's probably going to get a 1 or an authentic. Hopefully it gets a 1. And then I think I'm going to sub the play ball that I bought over the weekend. And the Gaudy 4-in-1, I'm going to sub that. And then I think I have some T206s still to sub. So I'm going to try to conjure up 10 vintage Cubs cards to submit to SGC this Saturday. Madison Card Show, Sheraton Hotel, John Nolen Drive. Show runs from 9 to 3, free admission. I am sold out 125 dealer tables. So come on out this Saturday. There is a Badger home game. It's a 2:30 kickoff, so you can come out to the card show and then drive about 2 miles, take John Nolen Drive into the downtown area, go down to Camp Randall Stadium, catch some Big Ten football. Badgers against Purdue for UW homecoming. That's this Saturday. Zach and Porter, what's happening? Dan has a question. Bo, do you need to have a desktop version of Excel to use your scanner and Card Dealer Pro? I don't know. I do, but I don't know if it's necessary. I think there are some people listening, possibly, in the chat or can probably comment later. I don't think so, but I'm not sure. And I don't know if maybe Ted from Collects is listening, if he can add anything. I don't think, but I'm not sure. I do understand. I know with just regular uploading to eBay, you do not need to have like the desktop version. I think you can use Google Sheets, in fact, for file exchange. But with Card Dealer Pro, I'm not sure. Mark Hoyle, I don't sell on eBay, but sold $400 in vintage hoop cards on Twitter Monday. That's awesome. Fall Creek Collectibles, what is up? Nukes Cards, good morning. So I don't see Dan here yet, so I'll avoid Dan's question. Let's do a movie review. Halloween Ends. I don't even know which iteration. Somebody was asking me, I think it was David was asking me, what I thought, what movies came close to the original. And I think that's what's unique about the Halloween movie series. In my opinion, I think many of them are maybe not as good as the original, but come close at least. So, of course, the original John Carpenter back in, I think, 1978. I was a big fan of Halloween 2. I thought Halloween 2 was a well done sequel. Now, Halloween 3 went completely off script. No Michael Myers in Halloween 3. So, in terms of like the Halloween, the whole Halloween franchise, 3 sucks because it's, there's no Michael Myers. It's way, no characters. It doesn't even mention the original 2. But if you just kind of isolate it on its own, I think it's a pretty good story. It's unique. It's a good movie. But as far as the franchise of Halloween, yeah, it's it gets an incomplete because it's not really part of the franchise, yet it is. Halloween 4, I love. Now, I love Halloween 4 because I think it's because it's nostalgic for me. That was, I think that was released in 1989, which is when I was only 7 years old. My parents were pretty liberal with what they let me watch. I could watch rated R movies. I could watch scary movies. I was watching Friday the 13th when I was 6 years old. And look at me. I didn't turn out to be this raging psychopath. So it's not, it's not, you can let your kids watch stuff. It's not going to turn them into psychopathic serial killers. Halloween 4 came out, I think, in 1989. Oh, 88. So and you're probably not of the younger generation where you don't know what VCRs and VHS tapes. But back in the day, for those that might not have experienced the annoyances of VHS, back in the day, a movie came out, say, in 1988. You wouldn't get to watch it until 1989 because it took like a year for it to get on VHS tape and from the movie theater to the movie store. So back in the, I think everybody watching is probably, I'm speaking to the choir here. We all experienced Be Kind, Rewind. So I was probably watching Halloween 4 as a 7-year-old in 1989. So I think that's like the coming of age year for me. That's when I started like really getting in to baseball cards, 89 Topps. That's when I like fell in love with the hobby, that it just stuck around like a cockroach. I couldn't kick this hobby habit. Halloween 5 kind of sucked. We're talking about Halloween movies. I think Halloween 5 kind of sucked in the grand scheme. And then some of the newer iterations, Halloween H2O, which came out, I think, in 98. Terrible. That was brutal. That was awful. That's probably the worst, in my opinion. And I think that's kind of consensus. But then some of the new, like, I think Rob Zombie did some Halloween movies, maybe another director. But I think they're all, and I kind of view the Halloween movies as like separate entities, because I think the original Halloween has been done 3 times now. The original, and then Rob Zombie, and then this latest one. I don't think this latest one, trifecta or whatever you call trilogy. That's the word I'm looking for. I don't think it's Rob Zombie. I'm not sure who the person is behind these. So that's my take on like the Halloween franchise. I'm going to get into my review of Halloween Ends here in a second. I want to see John's comment, selling socks on Grindr. Herman says, Mark, I got my 72 wrappers yesterday. How do you store yours? Herman says, worst movie ever? Oh, come on, Herman. No way. Zach and Porter tells the 70s Card Show, I know you were a liar because you were a collector, not a dealer. Nice try. Mark has never watched any of the Halloween movies. That doesn't surprise me. I don't think Mark has ever watched a movie. Pepino Man, what is happening? Good morning. Red Light 34 still has a VHS player. I think I talked about this the other day. I have a VHS player. The only reason is because a few years ago, I found my old like college tapes that I would used a camcorder at like parties and just doing stupid stuff. So I hooked it up a couple winters. It was probably during COVID, and I found a VHS player at a VCR at the Goodwill for like $5, and I still have it just in case I want to get those old tapes out again, which I probably won't. Herman says the story is Halloween series was never intended to be just about Michael Myers. And that's, yeah, they did 1 and 2, and then 3, they were just going to go, okay, we're going to do a completely different story. Apparently they like, okay, we're going to do Michael Myers again, and we're going to go back and do 4. 70s cards. Hopefully those weren't DNA authentic socks. Herman says was supposed to be different Halloween themed stories until they got a lot of kickback for switching it up in Halloween 3. So they went back to Michael Myers. Cooter's with us. Good morning. Life is too short to fill your mind with horror movies. Horror. Card Hobbyist, what is up? Pepino Man says, I used to watch Benny Hill with my dad when I was a kid. I'm not a pervert. Zach and Porter says, I've never watched Halloween series. Not a fan of horror movies. Herman says, Bo, I was meaning the last Halloween. So Halloween Ends. There's so many, like, that's the confusing part about Halloween. It's like, which one is there? So I liked Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends, the movie that just came out. It's on Peacock. If you have the streaming service, I think it's in theaters. I liked it for what it was. And I try to isolate. I don't want to compare movies to the original or to the prequel. I want to isolate my movie review into, okay, standalone. And so I thought it was a good story. It was different. It wasn't something that it wasn't something that was like I said on Twitter last night. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad, I didn't think. I know some people share Herman's sentiment where it's like just this awful, terrible, worst movie ever. And I didn't see that. Like, it was kind of like a weird storyline, and it was clunky. But for what it was, I thought it was a decent story. Halloween Ends. I'm surprised by how many people have not watched the Halloween series. I love horror movies. So I'm into these, especially Halloween. Halloween is probably overtaken Friday the 13th as my favorite horror series. So I thought it was okay. I would give it, if I had to give it 10 out of 10, I would probably give it a 5.5. That would be my star. That would be out of 10 stars. Let's see. Okay, cool. I'm getting blown up by dealer texts this morning. I can't remember. I lost my train of thought. Let's go to the chat. Let's see. John says, we're really discussing the higher meaning of a Halloween series. Absolutely. We spend an hour a day talking about pictures of men on cardboard, and you're questioning my discussion on Halloween movies? Red Light 34 did not watch any of the Halloween movies. Jenny says, back in the day, you had to wait a year for a movie to come out on VHS. Now you just have to subscribe to yet another streaming service to see a movie. Absolutely. And it's like, that's the strange thing, like getting accustomed to, like, Halloween Ends. It's in theaters, but hey, you can watch it on your TV at home if you have Peacock, which is fascinating still to me to this day. Stacks and Packs doesn't watch any of it either. Zach and Porter, fan of Halloween series. Wrestling is a sport. I kid. Red Light 34 wants to know my Twitter name is pretty easy. 1 million Cubs, all spelled out. 1-O-N-E million Cubs. 1 million Cubs. Zach and Porter says, blow up by dealer text, says Bo and my dealers keep texting me. Jenny says, I wonder if we are your horror movie target audience based on comments. Probably not. At least not the live chat does not like my horror movie reviews. So that's my thought process. I can spoil it. Guess what? Michael Myers dies. Spoiler alert. Oops, too late. We talked about the NBA. We talked about Halloween Ends. Let's see. Is Dan here yet? Dan had a question that I wanted to touch on yesterday, but I don't think I've seen Dan in the chat. I saw George earlier. I really don't have much to talk about this morning. The only other thing I want to announce, I'm going to do a mega live stream coming up in a couple months. Herman says, Bo, I'm going to have to get you back on Friday the 13th. I think what killed Herman. So Herman, and here we go. This is probably only going to be of interest to me and Herman. The Friday there was and Herman knows more about this than I do. Wasn't there was there between the producers and directors with Friday the 13th where they couldn't make any movie? There was a movie, and I Googled it because I saw it pop up. It might have been on Peacock, where it was a Friday the 13th. Oh, it was so stupid. I watched if you thought Herman, if you thought Halloween Ends was bad, what was this Friday the 13th movie? And you might know what I'm talking about. It's like a fan. It's about the original characters being stalked. So 2 days ago, David Bruckner doesn't see a way back into the Friday the 13th franchise. So yeah, so I think that's what's turned me off on Friday the 13th, because there's this big to do over the rights to making movies in the series, the Friday the 13th series. So I think that's what's turned me off on Friday the 13th. But whatever movie that was, Herman, are you with us? There was a movie, and it's not even coming up on when I Google Friday the 13th. Man, it was so bad. It was so bad. Herman, do you know? Let's see. Zach and Porter, Herman and Bo, do you want us to leave? Right? Let's see. Stacks and Pack says good, and I bet he comes back alive for Halloween 30. Oh yeah, because here's the thing. There's been 3 iterations of Halloween, and it's so now another director will come on and be like, I want to do my take on Halloween. And now they go back to the original and they do it. And there's a prequel and all this. Has there been a prequel to Halloween? I'm into prequels. I love prequels. Zach and Porter says, Dan, you dip, Dan. Dan, you dip. How great was Brian Gray on Sports Cards Radio? I ended up having it on in the background for 5.5 hours. It's an 8.5 hour stream, Sports Card Radio. Friday, their investigation into backyard breaks. And so after 5.5 hours, I'm like, okay, I'm getting tired, because they had some just, I don't want to say anything bad about some of the guests. They were bad guests. But then I saw Brian Gray was going to be on, so I fast forward, and Brian Gray, Ryan and Colin, that was great. I enjoyed that. So Sports Card Radio. If you want to bang your head against the table listening to some of these people, and not even just the backyard defenders. There's some other guys that are the one guy said he worked in supply chain or something, and didn't no. One guy said I think he was a backyard fanboy, and he started his defense with, well, they give away a ton of stuff. I've gotten $30,000 to $40,000 in free stuff. Well, no crap, you're going to defend him. I would too for $40K. Okay, no, I'm kidding. I wouldn't. I'm not a sellout. But there were some people. It's impossible. I haven't looked at the numbers, but it's impossible. And then there was one guy who says, I haven't really looked at the numbers, but I'd say 70%. There's probably something funny going on, but he hasn't looked come on, guys. Okay, so where are we at here? Diego's in the house. What's up, Diego? Card Hobbyist says, Bo, what's your flavor of horror? Paranormal, slasher, monster, gore, comedic, or psychological? I would say of those, probably psychological. I'm not into gore. I don't like gory movies. Saw was kind of ugh. Some of the parts in Friday the 13th, a little too slasher for me. But I would probably go more on psychological. I don't like comedic horror movies. I definitely don't like gore. I'm not into monster movies. And paranormal, it depends. It depends on the some paranormal paranormal. Some paranormal movies I do enjoy. Some slasher movies I do enjoy, but I think probably by and large, psychological would be my vote. Diego, what's happening? Let's see. Herman could talk horror movies all day. Let's see. Where are we at? Let's see. I skipped ahead. Jenny says Diego's in the house. Let's talk Phillies. Paige and Deanie Bean talking about San Diego. Nuke's Cards, what's happening? Did you see the new Winnie the Pooh horror flick? No, that sounds awful. I did not see that. Is that a real thing? Cooter says, oh, darn, no more Friday the 13th movies. Shucks. Stacks and Pack says they're all bad. Let's see. Herman says Jason Takes Manhattan in 10. I agree. Jason Takes Manhattan was now after Jason Takes Manhattan, number 8, they all drift together. So 1 through 8, I know pretty well on the Friday the 13th series, and definitely 8 was the worst by far out of the first 8 movies. And then after that, I like Jason 10. Was there a 9? I feel like they skipped around after 8. Freddy versus Jason, I thought that was kind of stupid. I've got Friday the 13th Google pulled up. Does it say, so there's the original, 2, 3, 4, A New Beginning, which was 5, Jason Lives, which is 6, 7, The New Blood, 8, Jason Takes Manhattan was awful. Oh, so I guess Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday was number 9. I wasn't a big fan of that one. I remember was it Freddy? Oh, Freddy versus Jason didn't come out until 2003. So Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. I remember when that came out in theaters, my cousin was living with us, and he was a few years older than me. He got to go to the theater. I was so jealous because he got to go to the theater to see that, and I had to stay home. Let's see. John says Brian Gray is the biggest douche in the industry. I love Brian Gray. I think he's honest with his takes, and I love his commentary. I'm a big Brian Gray fan. Let's see. Nuke's Card says Winnie the Pooh movie is not out yet. John says he has little competition in that contest. Zach says, thanks, Jenny. We feature a wrestler in one of yesterday's video. Mongo, Steve McMichael. Let's see. Where are we at? Herman says there's a fan-made Friday the 13th called Vengeance that's pretty good. I wonder if that's what I was talking about, what I was thinking about. Whatever movie that I was watching was basically like a fan-made, and it had like Kane Hodder was in it. Like it had all of the original, like a lot of the original actors from the series. And it was like meta. That's what they call it. It was like a meta. Because it was like kind of like there was a meta movie made about I think 90210, like about them having a reunion. They were like real people, but they were having a reunion about themselves as 90210 characters. That's kind of what this Friday, it was the real actors from Friday the 13th who had a like fanboy stalker who was stalking them, trying to like recreate scenes from the movie. It was so bad. I turned it off after like 5 minutes. Card Hobbyist says the chat is chaotic today. Must be a Wednesday. It's a day that ends in Y on Hobby Evolution. Brian says comedy is my thing. My 11-year-old wants to watch horror movies. I did like Nightmare on Elm Street. Nothing like nightmares about nightmares, right? I watched those when I was younger, but it's definitely lower on my list. Like I won't like seek out Nightmare on. If it's on, I'll catch it for a few minutes, but not a big fan. Stacks and Pack says Brian Gray believes Ruben would put him out of business. That's hilarious. Diego says I'm proud of the Phillies, but I am keeping my excitement low key. Terry Alexander says all horror is good horror. Terry's with us. Terry's with Herman and I. Terry's on Team Horror Movies. Red Light 34, The Watcher on Netflix is a thumbs up. That's another one. My wife and I have been watching that. I'm sucked in. We are, I think we have a couple episodes remaining, but that's awesome. I've tried to stay away now that I mention it and I talk about it and I watch it. My phone is like intercepting all of those me saying The Watcher. So like I'm getting articles pop up on my Facebook news feed. So I'm trying to avoid those because I don't want to know. And I know the whole John List story with him murdering his family and then going on the run for like 30 years before he was caught. The whole sandwich eating thing. But I don't know how it like ties into this particular story. So I'm staying away from the articles until I finish it. Then I'll go back, read some reviews, and learn about the story and what's right, what's wrong. Let's see. Brian Wolf says spoofs are great. The Scream knockoffs with the Wayans brothers. I liked those when I was when they were coming out, but like looking back now, it's like I'm not a big fan of those. Let's see. Brian says Winnie the Pooh is now fair game for using, if not Disney now. Weird that rights run out after 50 years. That is interesting. Cooter says, now I know why Herman expects all of his TCDB trades to be shipped in horror flick DVDs. Brian Wolf says Brian Gray tried to lowball a Peyton rookie from me for like a month. I would counter and it would expire. Then he would make the same offer again. Went on and on. You can't have my Peyton, Brian. I sold Brian $1 Joe Montana once. It was $1.50 in my eBay store. Normally, I turned down, but I like Brian, so I accepted his dollar offer on a 91 Upper Deck Joe Montana card. Let's see. Stacks and Pack says, I lost a ton of respect for Brian Gray with the whole Leaf Metal thing about dealers having weak hands, dumping his Leaf Metal soccer cases. I lost $1,000 on my case. Trash. Ooh, that sucks. Yeah, it was bad optics, and Brian admits it. This is I'm going to come out and say it. This is why I respect Brian, because yeah, he looked bad, but then he realized it when he got because you know what? Sometimes we're all guilty of saying something stupid, and we don't like in the moment think it's stupid until we're called out on it, and then we reflect. And some people double down and look more stupid. But some people realize I made a mistake. And Brian realized when people started calling him out, he made a mistake and he took ownership, and he basically is shutting down his Twitter because he lets the emotions get the best of him sometimes, which, hey, we're all guilty of, I think, myself included, definitely a lot. So that's why I respect Brian Gray a lot, because he took ownership of a mistake he made. And yeah, was it a really shitty comment he made? Yeah, absolutely. But when he was called out, he took ownership, and he's, going to make changes. So John wants to know, have you been in the room with Brian? Not like a small room. I've been in a large room like the National. I stood next to him. But I haven't like had a full on hour-long sit down or anything with him. So no, I haven't, but I would welcome that opportunity and make a judgment from there. But that's my thought. And I know we all don't like or dislike the same people, and that's okay. So Dan's not in here. Dan asked a question yesterday that I said I'd circle back to, but we ended up, time got away, and he asked what I was going to miss about this house. So we are moving. We bought a house that we're going to renovate. We close in December, and demo is like the day after. Let's see. So before I get into that, John says, took ownership. His first reaction was to shit on the hobby. The PR spin was what you saw later. Yeah. It was a shitty thing to say, but you know what? The thing is, when emotions are high, and especially when it's your business and it's not a good look. I'm not defending what he said. It was bad. And it's just, I've said stupid shit before. And sometimes I double down on stupid shit. Sometimes I take ownership and like, ooh, I probably shouldn't have gone there. I probably shouldn't have, because sometimes, especially on Twitter, because we're on a keyboard or on our phones, and it's just we're emotional over certain topics, and those emotions sometimes get the best of us, and it's like, well, screw this, I'm going to say what I want to say. And then looking back, it's like, okay, I really looked like a douchebag. I've looked like a douchebag many times, and I will probably look like a douchebag many times in the future. And I just have to, regulate and realize sometimes when I'm acting like a douchebag, stop acting like a douchebag. So I get it. Let's see. Red Light 34 says, wish this was a 2-hour show. John sat next to Brian at a Dr. Jim Beckett dinner for 2 hours. Stone cold douche. Zach and Porter says, rumor has it that Gray didn't pay for a bid he made on John's socks. That's what it is. That's what it is. Stacks and Pack says he's the Jerry Jones of the sports card industry. I'd like to sit in a room with Jerry Jones too. So Dan asked me yesterday what I was going to miss about this house. So we bought a house, renovation start January. And we, one of the things that I was going to miss was my backyard, because it's a long backyard. We've got a tree line and all that. But I'm going to have a better backyard at the new house. But I think I'm sentimental when it comes to things. So I think what I'm going to miss the most is more the sentimentality, where the new house is I'm going to have way more room. I'm going to have a nicer, my shipping and staging area is going to be kind of like this. It's just going to be bigger. But my office will be connected to my storage area. It's going to be a much nicer office. I'm going to have, so like this room will be larger, and then I'll also have, like basically a inventory area for like all of this. So what you see behind me in the new place will be inventory only. And then all of my non-inventory will be in a separate, area in the basement, like just across the hall. And so I'll have more room for activities. But I will miss like just the nuances of my shitty Wi-Fi. I'll miss some of that stuff. And it's just, I think it's the first house that my wife and I, owned. We rented a house for a year and a half before we built this house. So, I think just that, like, oh, this was our first, project. So I think it's a lot. It's not the house itself. It's just the memories. And I think that's what we have with, I think all of our homes. And it's funny when I look back, like my college years, I would move from house to house, apartment to apartment, when I was 20 years old, 19, 20, 21, 22. And I was like sentimental with each move. It's like, oh man, it was almost like every time I moved out, I was like doing the Will Smith. Remember the last scene in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and it's like a meme or a GIF where Will Smith's just walking into the empty living room area in Beverly Hills. And that's kind of what I had in my early days. And I lived there 6 or 9 months, but those are like your formative years. So you create so many memories. You're active, you're in college, you're just, doing all that stuff. So, so that's funny. Now when I moved to Wisconsin, the house that I owned in Illinois, when I moved out of there, I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. Just the town itself and the house itself. I was like, and I lived in that house for like 7 years, but there was no sentimental. There wasn't anything really sentimental. Like, yeah, a little bit like, oh, I'm going to miss, some things, but overall, I think if Dan's watching this in replay, I didn't answer his question yesterday, but what am I going to miss about this house? Probably just, the sentimental, the memories and all that stuff. Nothing, I don't think anything physical about the house, but the memories. So that's what I'm going to miss. So, and we won't move in. So I'll be here for another, 8 months. So we'll probably move in, we're targeting May, but maybe June. So May or June, we'll move into the new place. Let's see. Stacks and Packs thinks Brian Gray's going to make a Twitter burner. John says more room for activities. Always reminds me of Step Brothers, and that's directly stolen. That's why I said that. Directly stolen from Step Brothers. We'll have so much room for activities. And the other thing I wanted to touch on, Breaking Bonanza. I know that sounds awful, but I'm going to do a live stream Saturday, December 10th. My wife's going to be out of town with her mom down in Florida. So I'm like looking at the calendar. I don't have a card show that day. So I'm thinking like Frank will be missed. I will probably miss Frank. So Saturday, December 10th, I'm going to do a Breaking Bonanza. And I've accumulated so much wax. I'm actually only down to 8 Bowman U blasters, if you can believe that. So I've got 8 Bowman U blasters. I've got 2 Bowman U basketball blasters. Those are hot garbage. Do not buy Bowman U basketball, which I knew even when I bought them. And that's why I think I bought 3 and I opened 1, or maybe I bought 3 and opened 2 and I have 1 left. Nope, I have 2 up there. I knew they were going to be terrible, but I really like the Bowman U football. I've got a couple NBA hoops blaster boxes. I've got an Illusions football box. I've got a couple Overtime Elite blasters. I've got a bunch of hobby boxes of 2020 Topps Update, so I'll rip one just for. I've got some 2022 Bowman Mega boxes. I've got 2021 Bowman Mega boxes, 2021 Bowman Chrome Mega boxes. I've got a 2021 Bowman Chrome hobby box. I've got some Topps Heritage Minors from last year. So yeah, I've some other random stuff, and I'll likely pick up more here as the next couple months, because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of wax on sale through Blowout Cards and the other online retailers like Steel City and Dave and Adams. So that's my plan. I'm gonna do a StreamYard, so I'm gonna open it up, and if you want to come on and we'll just kind of have like this hangout through it's December, so it's gonna be freaking cold. So maybe start it out in like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon on that Saturday. I don't know if there's a card show in my area. I don't know if Oak Creek's probably the weekend before. There's not going to be a Rockford show. So probably won't do any card shows that day. So I might start it as early as 3 o'clock on Saturday, December 10th. And then I'm just going to go, throughout the afternoon, evening, and as late as we go, just ripping wax. And I'll leave people can join in, and we'll just have this marathon breaking session. You can come on and just hang out. You can come on and break your own packs and boxes, whatever. But I'm going to do a Breaking Bonanza Saturday, December 10th here on my YouTube channel through StreamYard. So that's kind of the plan. And kind of what led me to, like, I just need to open some of this stuff. Why? Because at the Midwest premiere this past weekend, I saw such cheap wax, like blasters for $15. And I talked about, my theory on why the blasters are cheap. The Bowman Chrome hobby box was one dealer had it for $300. I think I paid $350 for it, hoping it would be $600 by this point. So it's like, should I just open it? Here's the thing. It's like I could sell it, $300, or I could have fun. I could rip it and get $100 worth of stuff, and hopefully $200 worth of fun. Probably not. The Bowman Mega boxes, I'm like, oh man, these are going to be $100 by next year. And guess what? They're basically MSRP. But the thing with Bowman and the Bowman Mega boxes, and this is why I'm not going to open all of them, because especially 2021, like the prospects haven't really hit. Like as soon as 1 or 2 climb the prospect rankings, or make their debut, or do a Julio Rodriguez, something like that, that's when you see those prices spike. So Bowman's kind of unique in that way, where there's kind of a lull. There's that release hype, and then several months later, there's just this lull, and then they start to climb again. So that's why I'll open a few, but I don't want to open my entire stash of Bowman. But the hobby box, I might just screw it. Because I think I bought 3 of the hobby boxes, and the 2 that I opened were pretty weak. So maybe I'll have some luck in the 3rd hobby box. Paige and Deanie Bean wants to know if Brian Gray is smelly. Cooter says you should do your break in front of a live studio audience. Let's see. Stacks and Packs says rip it and cry is always more fun. That's true. John says he smells like salami. So I think that's all I had for today. It was certainly just a bunch of random crap to talk about. I know I've seen some. Ed says I have a bunch of stuff sitting here waiting to be busted. Maybe I'll join you. Awesome. 92 Ted Williams set hobby box might be the one. Nice. That's awesome. I've seen some weird trends with people reporting on their eBay. I've seen like eBay's down, and I shared some of my numbers yesterday. My numbers have been down the last couple days, comparatively speaking, though still higher than where they were a month ago. My Friday and Saturday I had good sales, but my Sunday was terrible, terrible. Monday was poor, better than Sunday. Yesterday I did exceed my benchmark number, and then today is off to kind of a slow start. My impressions, it's just so wild where my listing impressions I keep adding and adding and adding, and yet my listing impressions just stay. My sales are up 23%. So, hey, I'm okay with that. It's like the reverse funnel. My listing page views are up 5%. And I think it was Triple E posted his numbers, and he's got about 3 times the number of listings. He's around 75,000. I'm around 25,000. I think his impressions were like 28 million over the last 30 days. Mine are 17 million. I can't remember his other numbers, but my page views are 34,433, which is pretty good. My sales conversion rate is great. That's 8.2%. By the way, sales conversion is different than sell through. Your sales conversion rate, which is on your eBay homepage, that's the number of sales transactions. So the number of sales divided by page views. So that is just a number by page views, not your actual sell through of your inventory, which you have to calculate. eBay does not do that calculation for you. I track. You can do it many different ways. The easiest way for me is tracking the 90-day numbers. Take your number of cards sold in the last 90 days, divide that by 90, divide that number, which that's your daily, that's how many sales you make on average per day over the last 3 months. So divide that daily number divided by the amount of active listings you have. And of course, this is going to be kind of skewed because you'll be adding and selling throughout that time period. But that kind of gives you a rough estimate of your sell-through rate. So my sell-through rate is around 0.37%, which is it's been holding steady here, especially as I keep increasing my amount of listings. So that's kind of a snapshot into my eBay store. So I think I'm going to run another sale. I'm hesitant on running my 50% sale because I'm adding a lot of the higher end basketball cards here over the last couple days. So I'm a little hesitant. I don't want to just offer 50% off a $100 card when it's only been listed in my store for 24 hours. I could exclude those items, but then I have to put, it's just so much easier to do all inclusive and not go and cherry pick like, oh, this is not included. So we'll see. I'm going to run here in a second. Let's get through the chat page. And DD Bean says, I'm in on ripping live together. We have 96 Fleer update hobby box Dean wants to rip. Nice. So mark it on your calendars, Saturday, December 10th. Rock Latex says, will you consider using grading as you open new product with service fees and turnaround times coming down? Probably not. It's just not my wheelhouse. Before I would want to do grading, like as I rip new product and submit it, I would have to know what to look for. I don't know what to look for, especially when it comes to like the shiny cards, because I look at some of the Bowman products and there's like print lines straight from the pack. And it's like, I don't know like what, is this going to be an 8? Is it going to be a 7? So I don't want to just do like a 10 card submission, spend a couple $100 and they come back 7s and 8s when I can sell them for more raw. So that's my hesitation with grading for profit, because I just don't know. I'm going to stick to my lane. And my lane is buying bulk and piecing it out. And the only submissions I'll do are for my own personal collection, my Cubs collection. So I will probably not. I do keep an open mind. So I'm not like completely ruling that out in the future. I don't plan on it. I do want to stick to my lane. But, anything's possible. Maybe I'll sit down with somebody that knows what to look for, and like my buddy Matt over at 5 Star, and here's what you look for. But at least in the near term, no, I don't plan on doing any of that. Ed says Ripapalooza. I like it. So that's what I had for today. Less than an hour, but we made up for lost time Monday and Tuesday. Now we're coming up short since we went so long Monday and Tuesday. I've got to go to Walgreens and get my shots to keep away the flu and the COVID. So that's what my plans are for today. I will be listing some more baseball in my eBay store. I think I forgot to put my link in my description, but you can find it on previous videos. 99-cent cards, I think, 99centcards.com will also get you to my eBay store. That's 99, the numbers 99, 99centcards.com. That was a poor marketing ploy because 99-cent listings did not last much longer after I bought that domain name. Most of my listings now were started at $1.50. So that's where to go. Paige and Didi Bean says, hit that thumbs up. Thank you very much. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you for a great chat. My apologies for not really coming prepared with any topics, but we touched on a little bit of everything today. So have a great Wednesday. We'll do it all again tomorrow.